Hold your breath, Dutton fans. The dust hasn't settled yet. 1923 is roaring back for a third season, and the stakes have never been higher. From explosive new cast additions to jaw-dropping plot twists, we're breaking down every secret, rumor, and confirmed detail about the next chapter in the Dutton dynasty's brutal fight for survival. Will the family outrun their past, or will the Montana wilderness claim them for good? Here's everything we know about 1923 Season 3 and why it's worth the wait. The Dutton saga is far from over as 1923 gears up for its highly anticipated third season. The sprawling Yellowstone prequel continues to carve its name into the annals of television history. Set against the unforgiving backdrop of Prohibition-era Montana, Taylor Sheridan's gritty epic has masterfully intertwined the brutality of the American frontier with the simmering tensions of a family destined to shape a legacy. With Season 3 officially confirmed, fans are clamoring for answers. How will Jacob, Kara, and the fractured Dutton clan navigate the storms of betrayal, violence, and survival that loom on the horizon? From cryptic teasers to casting bombshells and behind-the-scenes revelations, this is your definitive guide to 1923 Season 3, where every rumor is dissected, every clue decoded, and the future of the Dutton Empire hangs in the balance. Saddle up. The next chapter promises to be their most perilous yet. At its core, 1923 Season 3 is a visceral exploration of legacy versus survival in a world where loyalty is tested, violence is currency, and the land itself demands blood. The season delves deeper into the Dutton family's relentless battle to protect their empire from external threats, greedy tycoons, vengeful rivals, and the encroaching tide of modernity, while grappling with internal fractures, betrayals, moral decay, and the haunting specter of generational trauma. Against the raw, lawless beauty of Prohibition-era Montana, the series interrogates what it truly costs to build a dynasty and whether the Duttons' iron will can outlast the chaos they've ignited. With themes of resilience, sacrifice, and the primal clash between civilization and wilderness, Season 3 promises to amplify the show's signature brutality and emotional depth, cementing 1923 as a saga not just about power, but about the souls, damned or redeemed in its pursuit. Season 3 thrusts the Dutton family into a brutal reckoning as their empire teeters on collapse following the ambush that left patriarch Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford, near death. Kara Dutton, Helen Mirren, assumes ruthless command, rallying allies and confronting suspicions of betrayal within their ranks. The family's fragile unity is tested further when Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sleaner, returns from Africa, reuniting with Alexandra, Julia Schlafer. Amid the chaos, his homecoming forces him into a leadership role he never wanted, torn between protecting the ranch and preserving his tenuous chance at love. External threats escalate as Thomas Whitfield, a cutthroat, mining magnate backed by corrupt officials, launches a coordinated assault to seize the Yellowstone's resources. His mercenaries, Pinkerton agents, and hired outlaws sabotage Dutton operations, poison land, and manipulate public opinion to isolate the family. Banner Caton, Jerome Flynn, now allied with Whitfield, reignites his vendetta against Spencer, sparking a personal war that spills blood across the frontier. Meanwhile, Tiana Rainwater, Amina Neves, emerges as a fierce resistance leader, attacking Whitfield's supply lines in her fight for indigenous justice. Her actions inadvertently aid the Duttons, but her distrust of settlers, including the family, adds volatile tension, blurring the lines between ally and enemy. As battles rage, the Duttons confront the moral rot festering in their legacy. Flashbacks expose Jacob's past atrocities, deals with warlords, massacres of rivals that haunt their present. Kara, once the voice of pragmatism, begins questioning whether the ranch is worth its toll in blood. Spencer faces an impossible choice: Abandon Alexandra to fully embrace his role as heir or risk the dynasty for a chance at peace. John Dutton Sr., James Badale, wrestles with his father's brutal legacy, planting seeds of conflict that will define future generations. They add season climaxes in a siege on the Yellowstone as Whitfield's forces, Banner's vengeance, and a tribal coalition converge. Betrayals erupt. A trusted ally defects, and a Dutton relative dies to protect the ranch. Spencer leads a desperate counterattack through a blizzard, mirroring the primal struggles of the frontier, while Kara outmaneuvers Whitfield in a corporate showdown that pits civilization against savagery. The finale teases a cliffhanger. A shadowy figure from Jacob's past arrives, threatening to expose secrets that could dismantle the Duttons' claim to their land forever. Set against the turmoil of the 1920s, prohibition, looming economic collapse, and rising indigenous resistance, the season weaves historical strife into intimate drama. New filming locations in the Canadian Rockies amplify the wilderness's role as both sanctuary and antagonist. Confirmed details include Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren's return, new cast additions like a ruthless industrialist and a Lakota leader, and a narrative that cements the Dutton saga as a visceral exploration of ambition, sacrifice, and the corrosive cost of empire. Rebellion in 1923, Season 3 of 1923 takes a dramatic shift, evolving from a story of survival into a fierce uprising against colonial oppression, with Tiana emerging as a pivotal figure in the struggle for indigenous resistance. Positioned as a mirror to the Duttons' morally fraught empire building, her rebellion reflects the deep complexities of power, identity, and survival. The season explores Tiana's transformation from a victim of colonial violence into a determined freedom fighter, driven not just by personal revenge, but by the reclamation of her Lakota heritage and the unyielding desire to protect her people's future. Tiana's journey begins with her escape from a brutal Catholic boarding school, a place where she faced not only physical abuse, but the systematic erasure of her cultural identity. After enduring years of violence and indoctrination, she becomes a fugitive, seeking vengeance for the crimes committed against her and others like her. But Tiana's path is not merely one of retribution. It is a deeply personal quest to reclaim what was stolen from her Lakota identity, her heritage, and her right to sovereignty. In the wilderness of Montana, Tiana joins a group of indigenous rebels. Immersing herself in guerrilla tactics and ancient traditions her mother had secretly preserved. This bond to her roots becomes the foundation of her rebellion. Her mother's legacy is not just a memory, it is a living, breathing force that empowers Tiana to take action. She vows to honor that legacy not just through words, but through the brutal and strategic actions that define her revolt. Tiana's rebellion is marked by precision and purpose. She leads daring raids against supply trains owned by Thomas Whitfield, the ruthless mining magnate who represents the forces of colonial exploitation. These raids aren't just about stealing resources, they are about redistributing wealth to indigenous communities, correcting the historical imbalance that has left her people impoverished and oppressed. In addition to these acts of economic resistance, Tiana targets those who collaborated with the colonizers, assassinating former school abusers and traitors to her people, as well as sabotaging the mining equipment that desecrates sacred land. Her rebellion is both a practical fight for survival and a deeply spiritual effort to reclaim her people's honor. Her journey inevitably brings her into conflict with the Duttons. When she ambushes a Whitfield convoy carrying explosives meant to destroy their ranch, she sees the Duttons as just another group of settlers who are complicit in the theft of indigenous land. Though they share a common enemy in Whitfield, Tiana is steadfast in her distrust of settlers, including the Duttons. In a direct confrontation with Spencer Dutton, she bluntly rejects his offer of an alliance, stating, "You steal land just slower than them." This moment encapsulates the moral divide between Tiana and the Duttons. While they fight to preserve their stolen empire, Tiana's war is about something far deeper: the fight for indigenous sovereignty, cultural survival, and the reclamation of her people's land. Their uneasy collaborations, such as their temporary alliance during a Dutton ambush where Tiana helps divert Whitfield's forces, highlight the stark contrast between their worldviews. Tiana's fight is one of resistance, while the Duttons are only concerned with protecting their own empire from the forces that threaten it. Internally, Tiana struggles with the emotional and moral cost of her rage. After executing a priest from her former school, she begins to question the toll her anger is taking on her soul. She is haunted by visions of her mother, who urges her to exercise restraint and warns her not to become the monster her oppressors imagined. This internal conflict adds another layer of complexity to her character. Tiana is not merely a warrior seeking revenge. She is a young woman caught between her desire for justice and the need to hold on to her humanity. The rebellion is further complicated by tribal divisions within the resistance. A pragmatic Lakota chief, who advocates for diplomacy and negotiation, clashes with Tiana's more militant tactics, creating rifts within the movement. These tensions threaten to fracture the unity of the rebellion and weaken their collective effort to resist the colonial forces. At the same time, Whitfield exploits the situation, branding Tiana a savage terrorist to justify brutal military crackdowns on indigenous reservations. He places a bounty on her scalp, a grim reminder of the genocidal practices that have long been used to erase indigenous people from the land they've inhabited for centuries. Tiana's story in 1923 is deeply rooted in real historical events. Her character draws parallels to the early pan-tribal activism of the 1920s, a time when indigenous communities began to unite against the pervasive threat of cultural and physical genocide. Her actions are reminiscent of the covert networks that smuggled children from boarding schools in what has been likened to an indigenous underground railroad, a powerful symbol of resistance against the forced assimilation of native children. As the season progresses, Tiana's rebellion reaches its peak. During Whitfield's siege of the Yellowstone, Tiana's band of rebels reluctantly aids the Duttons, understanding that the defeat of Whitfield is paramount. She saves Cara Dutton from a sniper, not out of loyalty, but as a strategic move to ensure Whitfield's downfall. Then, in a final act of defiance, she stays behind to detonate dynamite and destroy a bridge, halting Whitfield's reinforcements. In the aftermath, only Tiana's necklace is found in the wreckage, a haunting symbol of her sacrifice for the greater cause. Tiana's rebellion is portrayed with raw intensity, offering no glorification or romanticizing of war. Her actions are a desperate response to the centuries of erasure and violence inflicted upon her people. Scenes of Tiana whispering Lakota prayers before battles stand in stark contrast to the Duttons' Catholic guilt, further emphasizing the show's exploration of faith, morality, and the cost of survival in a land built on bloodshed. Her arc challenges the myth of the noble frontier, revealing the brutal truth that the American West was not a land of opportunity, but one steeped in violence and exploitation. The Duttons, while fighting to protect their stolen empire, are part of this myth, an empire built on the very same bloodshed that Tiana seeks to avenge. Through her, the series exposes the truth about the foundations of colonial power and the self-righteousness of those who profit from it. As the season closes, it is clear that Tiana's war is far from over. Though her rebellion is fragmented and her fate uncertain, she remains the emotional heart of the season. Her sacrifice serves as a powerful reminder that the Yellowstone Ranch and the American West itself was built on stolen land, soaked in indigenous blood. Tiana's spirit lingers, fueling the embers of resistance that will continue to burn for generations to come. The season concludes not with triumph, but with a heavy toll, the kind of Pyrrhic victory that comes at great personal cost. The Duttons emerge from Whitfield's siege battered but alive. Their ranch is scarred, yet it stands. Jacob, frail yet unbroken, returns to lead alongside Kara, their bond strengthened by loss but weakened by the secrets they now share. Spencer, choosing duty over his desire for peace, sends Alexandra east to safety, their parting a silent ache beneath the vast, merciless sky of Montana. Spencer assumes his role as heir, his soul hardened by war, yet haunted by its cost. John. Dutton Sr. buries a fallen kin, vowing to forge a gentler legacy, but the land seems destined to corrupt even the purest of intentions. Tiana's fate hangs in the balance. Her rebellion ignites a movement, though her life ends in ambiguity. The dynamite blast that halted Whitfield's reinforcements leaves no body, only her necklace found in the snow. The legacy of her fight reverberates through the indigenous communities, where whispers of the wolf woman echo in the wind. Whitfield, humiliated but still alive, retreats to his boardrooms, his obsession with crushing the Duttons now overshadowed by his personal vendetta against Tiana's spectral legacy. The screen fades to a Montana dawn, the Yellowstone ranch bathed in pale golden light, its fields scarred by fire and blood. Inside the Dutton homestead, Jacob sits motionless by the hearth, his face etched with pain and resolve. Kara stands at the window, clutching a telegram that confirms Whitfield's temporary retreat. Not a victory, but a ceasefire. Outside, Spencer buries Banner Creighton's body in an unmarked grave, Alexandra's farewell letter burning in his pocket. As he pauses to stare at the horizon where storm clouds gather, he silently vows to protect what remains of the legacy, even if it destroys him. The season's final act unfolds in a blizzard. Matt Sapa, Jean McLaren, a Blackfoot warrior turned mercenary, rides into the Yellowstone with a posse of outlaws and a ledger detailing Jacob's massacre of a tribal village to seize their gold-rich land. He throws a bullet-riddled Bible at Jacob's feet, its pages marked with Lakota names. "Your God forgives, ours doesn't." With a smirk, he vanishes into the snow, leaving Jacob to crumple the ledger in his fist. Too late. The proof of his sins is already copied and on its way to newspapers and lawmakers. If you're still reeling from 1923 Season 3's explosive ending, you're not alone. Stay locked into this channel for deep dives, episode breakdowns, and secrets even Jacob Dutton wouldn't whisper. Smash that subscribe button because the Yellowstone drama never sleeps, and neither do we. Hit the bell so you don't miss theories on Masapa's vengeance, Tiana's fate, and whether the